I'm George Pearson, and these are just a few examples from some of the training videos I have here on YouTube. Now, when you're working with the training, following along the training, if you want to get the materials I used in the training, just go to the description down below and click on the link that's at the top of the description, and this will take you to a page where you can download the materials. Please subscribe, click the like button, and of course always share on Facebook, Twitter, or wherever. I really appreciate that. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with the video. In this Photoshop Elements tutorial, we'll be making this glitter-filled sparkly text. It's pretty straightforward, but there are a few tricks in here that you'll need to understand to make this work out properly. Take a look at our layers over here. As you can see, quite a few different layers in here. Some of them I'm not actually using. Let me just get rid of that one there. That was a test. There we go. So several layers in here. We have our sparkles right there. We have the outline for our text. We have the coloration for the text right here, that for the glitter, the pattern for the glitter, the actual text itself right in there, and of course the background and some coloration for that background. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll start from the very beginning here, and we'll make this sparkle text. Let's close that out. There we go. Save that. Okay, we'll start off with a brand new file. File new, blank file, and let's have this set at the default Photoshop Elements size, which is 6 wide by 4 tall, at a resolution of 300 pixels per inch. Choose OK. There we go. Now on this, we're going to be placing in our text and everything else. We'll start off though by making the glitter effect. That's what you want to have. So we'll do our glitter patterning first. And then once we have the glitter patterning, we'll then go ahead and put the rest of the stuff in here as well. I'll first reset my colors down here to their default settings, just like that. Black foreground, white background, just kind of get everything back to our default settings. We're now going to fill this layer. So go over here to the fill and choose pattern, right there, pattern fill. I'm going to dock this, there we go. And in here, you want this pattern. It's called Metal Landscape. Now we're looking at patterns up here. As you can see, you probably see the defaults like this. And actually Metal Landscape is right there on the defaults as well. So that's one you want. Double click, that sets that in. Leave the opacity and the tolerance as is. Just leave all the stuff as is. And simply click any old place in here to place in this pattern. Now notice the real repeating kind of effect in there. Really is kind of ugly looking. We're going to minimize that effect as much as possible. So let's take this background layer and first off double click on this and choose OK. That just converts the background into a regular layer. There we go. Now take this and make a copy just like this. So I now have one on top of the other. On the top one, let's change our blending mode up here to darken. You won't see anything yet, but you will once we do a little bit of work on this one. Now I want to distort the top image, which will then show us the bottom image and get rid of a lot of this kind of patterning, this kind of grid work effect in here. To do the distortion, we're going to be using a filter, distort, and liquefy right there. Bring that up. Here's our liquefy filter. Now I have my brush set pretty large. You could set it at about 500 pixels if you want. That's fine. And we have several brushes up here. Twirl clockwise, twirl counterclockwise, pucker, and bloat. And what I want to do is just to come in here. Let me change all my sizes. There we go, 500. I just want to come in here and use these different tools and just kind of run around and do some distortions in here. And I'll just switch to different tools like this. Here's our bloat tool. You can even kind of push things around with these tools. And I'm just messing up the surface is all I'm doing. There we go. And just using, like you can see here, just different tools. One thing I'm being careful of is to make sure that I push the patterning back into the edge. So if you use the pucker tool and you squeeze it down from the edge like that, just go to the blow tool and push right down below, and you kind of use that tool to push that back out on the edge again. Okay, so just kind of distort the whole image, choose OK. And there we go. It just randomizes and distorts that surface. Also notice how that it's much darker now as well, because now that we have distorted that surface, we're getting that darkening effect. So that takes care of two things in one step there for us. Okay, so that gives us our background. Now let's merge these layers. Right click and merge visible. It just makes them into one layer for us. This will be the basis of our glitter pattern. We'll of course be changing the color and brightness and contrast, that kind of stuff as we go here. So there we go. Now let's make a new layer and drag it down to the bottom, just like that. And let's hide this glitter layer. I'm just going to rename this one glitter so you know what that one is. And then on this layer, let's just fill this with black. Now the paint bucket, make sure that you switch over here to the foreground fill, and it says paint and not pattern. There we go. So there's our black background. Now let's put our text on. Choose the type tool to standard horizontal type tool. The typeface that I used is Cooper Standard Black Italic, which you probably already have on your computer. It's one of the standard typefaces. So this is just kind of a fat, round kind of typeface. I have mine set at 72 point. We'll be resizing this to fit. This is a good starting point. And then set the color here to white. There we go. Now let's click in the middle someplace. And then type in sparkle. Okay, now just grabbing the control handles here, I'm going to just kind of resize this. Just like that, so it fills the space up nicely. It's about half of a letter size on either side here open. But just nice big and centered in the space, just like that. Okay, now at this point we need to do two things with our lettering. One copy of our lettering we'll be using to put in our glitter effect. We'll do another copy of the lettering for our outline. So let's make that copy. So take this one here, drag it up to the new layer button, pull that above, and this is going to be the outline. There we are, sparkle outline. And then hide that layer. Okay, we can re-show this glitter layer, and then right click over here where it says glitter and click on create clipping mask. And what that does is it takes that and puts it inside of your text. Notice how that it looks totally random now. We did enough randomization in there. It looks totally random. We don't see any kind of effects. If you have any line or anything showing, you can just go ahead and fix that using the clone stamp tool or any other tool you want to use, or just kind of move this around until you don't see anything. So there's the basic sparkle. Now we want to put our color in on this one. So we'll do that with an adjustment layer above this one. So make sure that you're on your glitter layer, and then layer, new adjustment layer, hue saturation. And where it says use previous layer to create clipping mask, check that box right there and choose OK. Now click on Colorize, and this adds color onto that glitter layer, onto that layer right there. Let's now put the correct color in here, and the one I use on hue, I had that set at 206. It's kind of my blue effect. On the saturation, I have mine set at 62, and I left lightness alone at 0. So that gives us our nice kind of contrasty blue coloration in there. Okay, that's the first step on that. So there's our basic coloration, our basic glittery stuff. Now we can go up and do our stroke at the top. So let's hide all of this stuff. There we go. And show the top text up here, our sparkle text. We're now going to be putting an outline around this. So Layer, Layer Style, Style Settings. Be using a stroke. The color should be black. If it's not, just click on the box here and then choose black, bottom left hand corner, just like that. Set the size to 16, so it's pretty fat. There we go. And choose OK. So there's the basic outline for our text. Now what we want to do is we want to get rid of the white and leave just the outline. And you can do that by simplifying the text layer twice. The first time it converts the text into just a regular layer graphic, but it still has the outline placed as a layer style. The second time you simplify that, it simplifies the layer style. So let's see how that works. So right click, simplify, there goes the text, right click, simplify, and there goes the layer style. So the whole thing now is just a graphic. And at this point then, we can grab the magic wand, make sure that contiguous is not checked, there we go, and click in the white, and that should select all of the white for the whole thing. Hit the delete key, and that then removes that, and then we can go ahead and deselect. So now I have just the outline left, and that's perfect. Now I want to put a gradient into that outline. Hold the Control key down, that's the bottom left hand corner key on your keyboard, and click on the icon here. That selects just that text. It actually has two selections, the inside and the outside. So the select around this is now selected as text. Okay, we can now come in and put in a gradient here. Come back down to your colors, click on your default color button to reset those to black and white. That's what we want. Let's go to the gradient tool, and then in here where it says gradient, yours is going to look like that, the default setting. Click where it says default and choose metals just down below that, and right there choose that one, it's silver. Double click, that then sets that in place. Now I have my set at reflected right here, and then you can click right in the middle and pull to the right hand side like that, and it pulls it to the left and to the right. So it kind of reflects. If I pull to the right, it matches that going off to the left hand side. So that gives me my outline effect. We can then go ahead and deselect. And there we go. There is some effect in here. Now, the way you place it on, you can try different things. Let me just undo this here, a couple of steps. Undo, and let's undo the gradient. You have a few options on this gradient. If you pull from the left hand side clear to the right hand side, you get a softer gradient like that. That's not bad. If you pull from the middle to one side, you get a harder gradient. You get more of the gradient changing in here, kind of double the gradient changing. If you pull from the left to the right, you can get a slight angle on your gradient. If you pull right down here from the middle, bottom right, a bit of an angle in there. It's really up to you on the effect that you want on that. It just gives me kind of a nice outliney thing. So go ahead and we'll deselect that. So what I'm using on this one is I pulled right from the middle here, right between the A and the R, little space right there. Let me get my other tool here so you can see it better there. That space right there. And I pulled from here down to this corner right there. It's kind of a slight diagonal. This is a little more gradient than we had in my first example. I think this will look a little bit better on this. Okay, so there's the outline. At this point, we can bring back in everything else. There we go. So there's our basic text, and we have our basic outline on that text. Now all we have to do is put our sparkles in, and then put in our kind of fancy background effect. Now for the sparkles, go up here to the sparkle outline, top layer, and make a new layer above that. There we go. Come down to the colors, bottom left hand corner, click that little double arrow to set the foreground color at white, and go up to the brush tool. Now in the brushes, I'll set this back to the default brushes. Here's what it's going to look like for you. Standard default set. So click where it says default brushes and click on assorted brushes right there. Now if we scroll down in the assorted brushes, there's one down here. There's kind of a standard star shape right there. There's a snowflake and a little star, then a star. Below that, there's this shape right here, a starburst small, and there's a 50 below it, so it's a starburst small at 50 points. So that's one you want right there. Double click. That then sets that in. The size is 50 pixels right here. Now reset the size to 75. So let's choose the size, hit 75, hit the enter key, so reset to 75. Now when we use this thing, I'm going to zoom in here, bottom left hand corner, just for a second to show you how this works. There's the star. If I click just once, it gets kind of small and dim. If I click twice, it's brighter. 3 times brighter still. 4 times brighter still. 5 times even brighter. So it'll require clicking it several times to get the full brightness on this. I'm just going to use the Control Z key and undo these stars. There we go. Okay. So we'll have to be doing several clicks for each one of our sparkles. Now you want 5 to 7 sparkles inside of each one of your letters, just kind of randomly placed around inside of your letters. So I'm going to click 5 times in here, like that. And just putting in a few so it looks good. And I'm just doing 5 clicks on these. And it's going around and putting in a few of these sparkly things. And you want, again, 5 to 7 of these for each one of your letters should be just about right. On bigger letters like the K, you're going to want a few more. And the smaller letters like the R, you may want to go for 1 less. It's up to you. And then just work around and put in a few of these sparkles inside the blue letter area. Okay, now that we have that done, let's get a few sparkles right on the edge. Just like that, just kind of right around the edge. And not as many, but just a few. They won't show as well on the white, so yeah, don't go to the pure white areas. We'll take care of those in just a minute. So this gives us kind of our glittery effect. It looks like there's glitter on there, and this is what really sells this whole thing as being glitter. The background color is just kind of a coloration, really. And it's these little sparkly things that sell the feeling that we're looking at something that's made up of glitter. Okay, so there's some basic sparkles like that. Now change the size to 200, and this is a much bigger sparkle, and we're going to be doing some right at the top outside edge. Kind of like that. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm only clicking 3 times on these. So I'll get the tops and come in and put a couple on the bottoms. I'm just doing 2 clicks on the bottoms. So 3 clicks for the top, 2 clicks on the bottoms, maybe 1 right over there. And there's kind of the sparkly effect. That's our little specular highlights coming off the letters. So there's the sparkle. Pretty straightforward, easy as you can see. Now all we have left to do is just to put in our nice background. So let's zoom out 1 notch. Take the black background layer, drag that up to the new layer button. There we go. Here's a new layer. And we'll be doing a lens flare on this layer. So filter, render, lens flare. Leave it at the default settings, which is a 500 by 3 or 50 by 300 zoom, and brightness at 100. Now you want it to be somewhere around over in here which is about middle top to bottom, and it's about a quarter of the way in. Just kind of visualize that. You can move this around by actually grabbing that little plus sign. You can place it in where you want to. So put it at, so it kind of comes in right about in behind the P and the S in here somewhere. Again, just kind of eyeball it. We'll move it around in just a minute. So put it right there, choose OK, and there we go. Now if you click on the layer over here, you can then use the keyboard to move that around. Just like that. Okay, now I want to see some of the rest of that stuff over here, so we're going to be rotating this layer. So just click on one of these control handles, like right there, and down here it says angle, set this to 15 degrees, and click on the green check mark, OK. Using the cursor keys, I'm going to now move that down and over a bit. So it's just in behind that spot there where the S and the P almost touch. So the highlight is right in behind there. There you go. We now have that kind of interesting shape back here. We have some stuff happening down there. It looks real nice. Okay, so far so good. That's pretty good. Now if you want to, if you're worried about the edge showing, if you're getting kind of a hard edge in here, it sometimes happens on this, you can just take the control handles here and then just stretch that out a little bit, and that should hide that. It kind of gets rid of that because it's out into the black area. Okay, last thing to do. Now you may like it like this. It's up to you. You might like it with this coloration. That's perfectly fine. This is one of the options on this, is to use these reds and greens in here in behind the blues. It gives you a nice color separation on that. But I want to show you one more trick on this that I haven't really seen that much around, but it's easy to do, and that's to actually change the color of that lens flare. Easy to do. Just go up to the layer menu right here, come down to new adjustment layer, hue saturation, make sure that you select use previous layer to create clipping mask, choose OK, click on Colorize, there we go, and now we can actually change the color of that and change our saturation. So you can make this color coordinated if you want to. Now the one that I chose was 193 for the hue. It's kind of a cyan color in there. And I brought my saturation up to 54, and I left the lightness at 0, and then just close that out. And then you can just use your keyboard to kind of move that around, make sure I'm on the right layer. There we go. Keyboard to move that around a little bit so it's nicely positioned. I kind of like seeing that loop right there swirl from the S over to the P. And there we go. There's our sparkling glittery letters. Let me just pull this up and enlarge this so you can see it a bit better. There you go. As you see, it's actually pretty easy, pretty straightforward. A couple little tips, little tricks to make it work out well. Probably the hardest thing on this whole thing really is that little trick on doing the outline on the lettering in there. But there you go. That's how to create sparkling letters. Thank you for watching this special Photoshop photography project video. Don't forget to subscribe so that you will get first notice of new project videos in the future. Just click on this link right here where it says subscribe here. You can get all 12 project videos in this series along with 26 special videos demonstrating the tools and techniques that I used in these projects by clicking on this link right down here. And then thank you again for watching this